Hey everyone, welcome to Dweeb Reviews, our newest series, Castlevania, Netflix Castlevania, the animated series. This particular episode is going to be episodes 1 and 2, and we'll probably knock them out in those like 2 episode chunks. If not, maybe even more, because, we'll talk about it in a moment. But yes, I'm Mitch, joined again by Chris.
What's
Chris, thank you
what's
for
going
joining.
on, guys?
And yeah, episodes 1 and 2. This is season 4 now. Obviously, our channel wasn't around for seasons 1 through 3, but I've been tuning in since it initially released on Netflix. Was never a huge Castlevania gamer. I played Symphony of the Night on PlayStation and then again on Xbox, but that's really as far as my Castlevania history extends. Chris, when were you introduced to the show? And do you have any further history with the series leading into the video games or anything like that?
So I think me and you got introduced around the same time. I think you actually told me about the series right when season one popped
Probably.
off. So that's when I watched it, and then I remember them being old arcade games. And since I have that old arcade system at my place, it had a couple of games on there, and I played them with just the joystick and 2 buttons. But no, that's pretty much all I kind of knew. But it was definitely cool to see how they really expanded the universe in this animated series.
Yeah, it's cool to see a new take on a classic gothic horror, you know, trope. I mean, Dracula and vampires and werewolves,
Yeah,
and they have a little bit of everything in here, right? But seasons 1 through 3 were great, particularly seasons 1 and 2. They just go so well into building the story of Dracula as the villain. As a brief recap for the audience, I had to refresh myself because the one thing about these binge shows is that if you kill them in a weekend, it means that by the time the next season comes out, it's been like a year and a half since you've seen
yes,
any of
yeah.
it, right? So, um, on one hand, that's really nice. You get to take the series at your own pace. You're not stuck waiting week by week. I mean, for content like this, I guess it's not that great because a lot of people are going to be watching it all at once, and it's hard to release content to review it all at once. But with season 3, they introduced the new vampire villains in the form of Carmilla and her femme fatale tribe with Striga, Lenore, and the other female vampire lords. And most of the last season was split between following the characters of Hector, Carmilla, Alucard with the two Japanese vampire hunters Sumi and Taka, which ended up being like a really small self-contained story that I was a little disappointed by because I like the Alucard character a lot. And then Trevor, Sypha, Saint Germain, who is no longer on the show apparently, which is the mysterious friend that helps them hijack the portal to hell as Trevor and Sypha are fighting against a cult's attempt to revive Dracula. And the reason why I went into that is because this first episode at least picks up right there. I mean, it's still the same thing. They're still facing, renegade vampires and cultists, and all of them seem to be working towards the general goal of reviving or resurrecting Dracula still. It did not happen in the last season. I hope it happens in this season, or I hope they introduce some new big bad because I'm not really looking for another just repeat of what we saw before. I liked it, but it's done. I'm ready for something new. How about you?
Yeah. No, yeah, no, I agree. When you watch these binge episodes and you just do binge the whole season, and it's just forever from season one to season two to season three, you kind of forget stuff. I like how they do the recaps,
Yes.
but I think we will see Saint Germain again. I think he's going to be a pivotal character to return, and I agree with you, man. Like, I'm ready for something new. I'm super intrigued on what they're going to do. Right? It kind of reminds you of that. You got that Game of Thrones feel where one big baddie's gone and another one's gonna take his place and do the same exact thing. So I just want to see something different, but it does literally kick off right where they left off, right? And then like if you don't remember anything, you're gonna be completely lost. You're gonna be, wow, that was really fast. What's going on? Because I will say this, even though not much happens in the first 2 episodes, there's a lot of action.
Yes. And you can tell that the budget is going into the animation of the action scenes because they are
Yes.
very well put together. Don't get me wrong. While not a lot of story beats are covered in the first 2 episodes, there is a lot of action and a lot of interest. I was never bored when watching them. It's just
No.
over the course of the 24 minutes of the episode, you didn't feel like the plot had moved too far along the way. Now, in the first episode, I think one of the things that they wanted to portray with all the action scenes was the shift in tone, because we saw at the end of season 2 and going into season 3 kind of the budding romance between Sypha and Trevor, and the three of them become, in season 2 at least, kind of like an adventuring duo, like a Dungeons and Dragons adventuring duo. They're like
Yeah.
entering into the castles, killing the boss, and if you remember, season 3 ends on a really dark note with a lot of
Without
Alucard's trust being destroyed in
destroyed.
humans,
Yeah.
and he
And he
starts.
creates that castle kind of like his father.
Well, it is his father's castle, but he starts to impale the bodies. And if you
Yeah.
remember, Dracula is Vlad the Impaler, and Alucard seems to be living up to that with the impaled, bodies of the two vampire hunters, of course, but then also, as we see in this first episode, the bodies of other like shadow creatures that have come back to the castle. And it seems that things have not only gone downhill for Alucard, but also for Trevor and Sypha, as they're just constantly under attack or having to attack all these new villains that are finding new ways to kill innocent people and try and resurrect Dracula. And it seems like they're not always there in time, and that they feel like they are not accomplishing much. And I think there's even a line where Trevor says, he signed up for killing Dracula, but he didn't sign up for an entire lifetime of trying to keep Dracula dead.
Yeah. Well, you know what it reminds me of, dude, is the Lord of the Rings, like the Two Towers. It's just like every time they're fighting, they're always behind the 8 ball,
Yep.
and they always just seem beaten and exhausted, and it's this big game of catch up they're playing. So I think that's what makes it really interesting. And I'm going to circle back to a point you said, like, yeah, they're short episodes, and not a lot of the plot has moved forward. But to me, with how much they've put on the action sequences and how creative they've gone, they went by pretty fast. Like, I was already done with episode 2, and I was like, wow, I felt like that was only 15 minutes because I watched them back to back.
I know, if I hadn't already talked with you about, hey, let's watch these 2 episodes,
We probably finished the whole thing.
I probably would have powered through the whole thing today, to be honest. My
Yeah.
my daughter was sick, and I was just kind of hanging out with her in her bedroom all day, so I probably would have been done.
Yeah, I do know. I agree. Me too. But again, you know what, dude? I kind of like stopping because then it lets you kind of think and try to be creative. I'm like, all right, well, where's this going to go? Where do I think it's going to go? Like, my biggest thing is, I like weapons and stuff like that. And in the games, you get different weapons and different people. And Morningstar, when they introduced that in the first, like, what was that, first season?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a cool weapon.
The second season.
The second season. That's a cool weapon, man. Like,
yes.
I remember when he first got it, we're like, oh, dude, this thing's sick. Because it's a flailing mace that's super long, right? So I'm hoping that he'll get something different this time around.
And if it makes contact with a shadow creature or something, it explodes them. Yeah, that's really cool.
Dude, it's sick, right? And like, I know, like, I'm super interested to see what happens to Alucard, since he's my favorite character. I think he's such a cool character because it's cool that you send your son. Your son's like, oh, I'm not gonna kill my dad too. Like,
well, yeah, he has that. I mean, him being that half vampire has that sort of like blade daywalker thing going.
Yeah, so it's cool, right?
And he has a really cool fight style with being able to shapeshift and then being able to control his sword without holding it. I think
it's so cool. So I'm super interested to see what's going to happen with him this season. This might sound bad, but I don't really care about Hector this season at all.
I'm kind of the other way with that because in season 3 we saw so much from Isaac, and they really defined what like a forge master was. And I thought that the Isaac scenes, especially his combat scenes, were awesome because all he does is stab somebody, and then they become his minion and start to attack other stuff.
Pretty cool.
And Hector, as a forge master, we've seen his abilities manifest in a different way. Isaac only needs to stab a corpse, and it automatically will shift. And Hector, if you remember, when he was at Dracula's castle, he has the table and he actually like builds them from body parts and hammers them to life. So now that he's forged a new hammer, I'm curious if it's going to be just like his old hammer, or if it's going to be a little bit more like Isaac's, where he'll be able to do more impressive stuff instantly, maybe at a quicker pace, and give him a cool type of fighting style. You and I had very briefly talked about this beforehand, but I'm a little unsure of what they're going to do with the Hector storyline, because obviously in the last season he was very, it started off him being very lost without Dracula, and then they did the whole arc with Lenore, the redheaded vampire, enslaving him with that ring, and it makes you seem like, or it makes it seem like he's gonna rebel against them, but then he doesn't, and he kind of has that
Well,
positive relationship with Lenore specifically. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. I think that if he does go a rebellion route, things will get pretty interesting.
so I think he's playing the long game and it's crazy to see, like, he had free will. He chose to be with Dracula. Dracula
Yeah.
didn't enslave them. Then when the other vampires came over, they kind of beat him down, imprisoned him because he was a human,
Yep.
and Lenore tricked him to win him over as her pet. That's what she calls him. You're my pet,
Yep.
right? So I think he's playing the long game. Like, well, this is my life now, so I got to play the long game of how I'm going to deceive them. I think he's going to deceive her into betraying. He's going to deceive Lenore into betraying the group, kill
Okay.
Lenore. I think his new hammer is going to be different for him. I think he's prolonging it because remember he's trying to hammer that steel and it breaks, and he said that it's coming up bad. But I do also remember he puts that little that circular like disc or chip into the crack of the wall. Like, I'm
Oh
super interested.
yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, he's
I
doing
think
something.
yeah. So again, I'm not too big on his story because I kind of think I know where it's gonna go. We haven't seen Isaac yet, so I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen with Isaac. I want to know if Alucard's going to join the group again or going to be independent. But I think this whole season's pretty much just going to take place with Belmont.
Yeah.
Belmont and Sypha. I think it's just going to be them trailing through, trying to get their relationship on track. Him probably developing new powers, her developing new powers, and them literally. I think it's to me it's gonna be a two tower season where it's just you're gonna fight this battle and win, but you didn't really win anything because you still have a long road to go.
It's my understanding that this is the final season of this show. Um I think that means we have to see Dracula again. He has to come back. I don't see how they're going to end Castlevania without one final appearance from Dracula. We'll see though. I mean, I hope he comes back because I like the character. I think it would make for a good reason to unite, Alucard back with Sypha and Trevor. But I'm very interested because it seems like there's a lot of different parties at play that are all trying to resurrect Dracula. But then at the end of the second episode here, we get introduced to some new characters and a possible new storyline that may carry the season when Trevor and Sypha finally catches up to the modern day. Because if you'll remember in the first episode, it says 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it finally catches up to the modern day. They try to take residence in a barn. There's a very cool action scene as they are attacked by a number of, I think they're called creatures of the night, right? I was calling them shadow creatures, but I think they're referred to as creatures of the night. And we are introduced to Varney and Ratko, the British vampire who calls himself the king of the Cockney or something like that, and then
And the
Russian one, and they bring those creatures of the night with them to attack. There's the introduction of the Dynasty, which is the secret guard of the city of Targovista or Vista, which is their, I guess, the original city that Lisa Tepes, Dracula's wife, was killed in the very beginning of the very first season.
Yes, it is. Yeah, no, so it's cool to see them. I think they're going to be still low level characters. I feel like they're going to also be kind of comic relief.
Maybe.
They just seem like those two characters. Like they just seem like the wet bandits, right? The comic relief of
kinda, you're right.
of the series. But like at the same time they'll still be pretty serious. But I think the main person we need to watch out for is Carmilla.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
because her little monologue at the end pretty much explains that she doesn't want Dracula to come back. She doesn't want to give up power. She doesn't want to share. That she realized that I'm just going to keep taking and taking and taking because that's what happened to me and it works. right? So she just wants everything for herself. That's
It's
why
it's a new
I
type
just feel
of
like,
villain.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a new type
Dracula
of villain.
Dracula was acting out of vengeance when he wanted to kill all humans.
Well,
She
yeah, because
wants to
out of
rule the
love.
world.
Yeah, Dracula was acting out of vengeance for his wife,
Mhm.
right? Because he loves love lost, and then this one's just pure selfishness. So I think so because we've seen episode one, really not much happened. They were fighting and traveling. That's it,
Yeah.
right? That's pretty much the story of Dungeons and Dragons. You fight and you travel. Episode two is where we kind of get a little bit of the storyline when they're in the barn, they're fighting the creatures, and they're beaten up and worn down. You see some cool powers from Sypha with the ice. That was pretty cool. Then you see that little hitting group, like the the what are they? The Royal Guard.
Yeah, they're kind of the elite guard protecting the royals that survived from the city after it was attacked by a
Yeah, I
Dracula.
remember seeing them come in because this one guy's got a big hammer like steel from DC. The other
Mhm.
one's got the two knives. I'm like, oh, dude, they're gonna be cool. Like now we're gonna have a team,
But
right? Right out the gate. One gets his head
yeah,
cut, the other one gets killed. I was like, all right, well, there goes that team.
never mind.
Yeah, never mind. But the leader obviously kept alive. So now we're gonna see her bring them to the royal family, and then that's when it goes to Carmilla giving her speech. So I think that they're gonna have no choice but to bring Dracula back, and I think the people are gonna do it is gonna be Belmont, Sypha, and Alucard because they're gonna bring Dracula back to fight with them over Carmilla because Carmilla doesn't want that.
Oh, I didn't think
She
about
doesn't
that.
want them. She doesn't want Dracula back. Right? The people that are trying to resurrect Dracula are his loyalists, and they're
Yes.
low level people.
Yeah, so far, yeah, it seemed that way.
All right. But I do think it's interesting that we're seeing all these kind of creatures. I think that's the creativity of the writers, right?
Yeah.
They're all different in different shapes, different sizes, different species, and they're just relentless and they're hard to kill.
Yeah, and
Even with the special weapons, special abilities, they're hard to kill. Because the best thing in the barn scene is you truly see fatigue in all the fighters.
mhm.
You see them get exhausted, and you see the teamwork of them getting each other's back. But just like and be creative with the scythe he has, the
The
pitchfork.
pitchfork, yeah. Yeah, Trevor has to get a little creative with anything he could find around him when he's out of weapons. And something else too with the action scenes that was pretty cool is they really expanded upon the powers of Sypha with her
Yeah,
magic. Obviously she does that constant transitioning between fire and ice magic, but with ice in particular, we've seen some cool things with her stabbing into an enemy and then expanding the ice to like cut them in half or explode them or you know a
yeah.
variety of different things that have kept it pretty interesting. And she's done other things in the past season. She's made almost like Krillin destructo discs out of
This,
ice that she
yeah.
throws. But
She does that again. This one, kind of like a Go Tank's freaking Halo.
yeah,
She
kind of.
makes
Yeah,
that was pretty
when
cool.
she cuts everything around her
That's
through.
everything
Yeah,
around her.
it's so I'm really enjoying this. It's a 10 episode season. We're 1/5 of the way through. So us being 2 episodes in and it only beginning to manifest a plot is probably not a good sign. I'm really hoping that these next couple ones that we watch pick up the speed a bit.
Yeah, me too. I like to try to guess on what's going to happen, and there's always great tragedy in every season finale or series
Mhm.
finale. A great example was Voltron, right? The Voltron Netflix series that we saw,
Yep.
the biggest
Spoiler ahead.
tragedy. Yeah, spoilers if you
Yeah,
have not seen
spoilers
this.
ahead.
That was a long time ago. Was when the princess sacrifices herself, right?
Yeah.
No one sees that coming because that doesn't happen in the original animated series, right? So there's always that great tragedy or great loss to overcome adversity. So I want to see if it's going to be Sypha, if she's going to lose her life, if it's going to be Belmont, and then new Belmont will take over, or Alucard, or maybe nobody,
Oh, you
right?
think that one of the characters, one of the main trio, might be killed, huh?
One, I think you have to. You gotta kill off every time, dude. Think about everything we've ever seen. Always one of the main character dies, whether it's in Star Wars, right? Any kind of anime that we've watched, Dragon Ball Z, Bleach,
That does give me some ideas now. You're right, because
right?
he's the last of the Belmont
He's the
clan.
last of the Belmont clan.
He
So if
could
he died
die and
and
Sypha's
have a kid
pregnant.
on, yes, kid
Yeah.
on the way. So, but we do see them in their squabble. The
Yeah.
first time they've seen them, and they've always battled back and forth, but that was before they were actually in this relationship.
Yeah.
And now we know they're in a relationship. And I think the best part is when she's like yelling at him because she's like, "I've never cursed until I met you.
Yep.
I didn't get in any trouble until I met you. This is all your fault." I'm like, typical female blaming everything on the man, even though
Jeez.
it's always our fault anyway. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's funny.
I thought it was super funny. It's great comic relief. Again, because the first 2 episodes are pretty much just been action based, so you have to kind of break it up and break up that intensity with a little bit of comic relief. And that was between the wet bandits, which I call the two vampires.
Yeah.
And it's going to be between Belmont and Sypha. They're going to be the comic relief because Alucard is seriousness all the way around. The only funny thing he said was when he said, "I'm turning into Belmont."
Yeah,
that was the only funny thing because they don't like each other.
Yeah, and his involvement, he's only in the first episode. He's not in the second episode at all, and it's interesting to see, or it'll be interesting to see how he gets tied back in because with it being the final season, I don't think that I don't think they're gonna stay separate. I think they have to come back together to work as a group, and his part of the story was just the dead rider that arrives on his front steps with a letter asking for help. He buries it and then doesn't seem to actually be intending to go and help the people that sent the rider. So we'll see. I mean, I'm curious how he's going to get looped back into this. Do Trevor and Sypha have to reach out to him for help? Does he seek them? I don't know.
I think that's where you and I differ because remember he tells the horse to stay there.
That's true. He does do that. But
so I think he's going to do
it doesn't
something.
Actually
I don't
show
know
him,
what it is.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't show anything. No, and I think we're going to see that in the next couple episodes. Because I don't even know who sent the rider either. I don't think it says who sent the rider.
No, it sounds like it's a nearby town that's under siege, and I don't know why they looked to the castle, but
I don't know if they went directly for him. Was it addressed to him? I don't remember.
I believe the letter says to the Alucard of the castle, and it's to him.
Yeah, and I think he's got the reputation of people know he was one of the ones that helped get rid of Dracula. And remember, we're seeing this whole region be overrun. So we see where they have the kids lined up where they're about to behead that little girl. Remember?
Yeah.
And they come in and save her. It's just like every time we're going to a village, the humans are either getting eaten alive, enslaved, or tortured.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
So this is a very Empire Strikes Back episode where everybody's on the back end of it and really becoming the underdog. So I think Alucard's gonna be super cool. Again, my favorite character just purely for what he's able to do. That being able to control the sword, shapeshift, that's super cool.
I agree.
Different than Blade, different abilities than Blade, but he is very much a Blade. He is very much a Daywalker.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect, but there's so many possibilities of where this can go.
I hope to see Isaac. This is going to
be the final season.
Yeah, I hope to see Isaac. I hope to see more from Hector, and I'm hoping that his turn. I'm thinking that he may be the one to resurrect Dracula if Dracula gets resurrected.
Who, Isaac or Hector?
Hector.
I think it's going to be one of them. It's going to be Isaac, Hector, or the trio.
That's what he wants for sure. Isaac wants to bring back Dracula.
Well, him and Hector are such loyalists to Isaac and Hector are such loyalists to Dracula. So
yeah, but last season they kind of.
I think Isaac feels betrayed. I don't think they broke his loyalty. I think they just broke him down. But I think again, after what we've seen with this new episode, right? I think he's got. You remember, he's being fed, he's clothed, he's being treated like a servant, not necessarily a person, but a servant, right? So they're treating him with a little bit of respect. That he's now like, all right, I'm gonna try to gain their favor, do whatever they need, but we'll do what I actually want on the back end. So, in creating a new hammer, like I think it's gonna be different.
He was lured out of Dracula's, or he was lured out of servitude to Dracula at the end of season 2 by Carmilla originally.
Yes.
And he turned on Dracula at the end. And I think that things have only been downhill for him since then. So that's why I'm suspecting maybe he does play a role in bringing back Dracula. But we'll see.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure him and Isaac don't get along,
No, they don't get along.
right?
Yeah.
So I think Isaac's gonna bring back an army. And remember the mirror. The mirror is
Yeah.
a big thing.
Made
And
an
I
appearance.
I mean, I could be wrong, but the last time I remembered it, Isaac had the mirror, but now
I think
Hector's
so.
got a mirror. So I don't know if they're communicating with each other. I want to see who he's communicating with because he is plotting.
Yeah.
Hector is plotting. I think we're gonna see Isaac come back with an army, in
We'll
my personal
see.
opinion. 'Cause he's so overseas. He's so far away now,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know.
We'll
But
see,
it is
man.
gonna be super interesting to see where this goes. I do hope that Belmont gets a new weapon. I think it's got to be one thing that's cool. It's got to be because there's only so much. Like, dude, everything, dude. Luke Skywalker got a new lightsaber, and Bleachy gets a brand new sword. Like, every great hero always has to get an upgrade.
Yeah, I think he'll get something new. You know, you'll remember in the Castlevania video games, he sticks with the whip, but the thing that changes out are kind of the extra weapons, the range weapons. He can throw crosses or holy water,
Yeah.
so maybe it'll be some other additional thing. He does have that short sword that he transfers to and kind of fights between the mixture of the whip and the short sword. But
Well, we
yeah,
didn't
we'll see,
see it
dude.
this go around, man. I
No, we
haven't
didn't
seen
see
it.
it. You're right.
So I think, man, they're running on fumes. They don't really have much. They don't have food. Because remember, she gets mad when he's pillaging the bodies
Yeah.
for stuff, and he takes the glowing stone,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
she flips out on him. Like, I'm like, dude,
Which,
that's such a couple thing to do.
yeah, the glowing stone might mean something more than just some random gemstone. We'll see.
Yeah. No, but I'm super excited to see what's going to go on for this
Me
this
too.
upcoming season. I'm really, if it is really the last and final season, I'll be pretty disappointed because, I mean, there's just so much you can do with this. There's
Well,
so many horror monsters you can put in this to make it great.
I think that Netflix has taken the idea and the success of Castlevania to heart, because just in this last year, it seems like they've brought a bunch of other video games into television series. I mean, I know you and I recently just watched that Dota show, and they had
Yeah.
the Dragon's Dogma one last year, and I heard they were going to make some more. So even if they conclude Castlevania here, I'm hoping that they take whatever team worked on this series and put them to use in something else, because this is a very well constructed product and it's been very entertaining.
Yeah, and dude, the artistry's great.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't go wrong with how much details and everything.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's awesome.
So, you know what, dude? I kind of hope they make like, I know like the last Castlevania game come out in 2019, but dude, if they can make a game off the series, it'd be amazing. It'd be
We'll
so interesting
see.
to play. So I don't
Yeah,
know. Hopefully the game kind of gets reamplified from this.
hopefully. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in to our reviews and reactions to episodes 1 and 2. The remainders are going to be coming out pretty quick here since the whole season dropped at once. We'll try and get them out as fast as we can. But stay tuned, and stay tuned to the channel as well. Subscribe. We are also doing Star Wars: The Bad Batch currently, and soon to start Loki when it drops next month. All right. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Later, guys.